He's here.
Oh, man. They say, show me a woman without shame, and I'll show you a man. Welcome to Shameless Parenting. How's he doing?
He's good. He's good. We actually have the baby here in our arms because we're currently at cluster feed time of the night. And so the only way for us to be able to record a podcast is to have him here. We might be feeding him on and off throughout the record as well. We'll see how we go.
It's been a wild ride. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. It was this time last week he was born. We would have had him in our arms for about 2 hours. So yeah, ahead of schedule. He was keeping us on our toes, but it's amazing to have him here, and already it's hard to remember what life was like before he arrived.
Well, we had such a good reception from our first episode that we thought we'd give all the listeners a bit of a taste of what happened in the birthing room, a bit of an update, and we will do that. But before we kick off, we're going to go straight into a listener question.
Okay.
Right. And just to kind of warm us up and to keep things moving, and then we'll double back for the birth.
Sounds good.
This is an interesting one. Let me read it out here on the phone. Dear podcast, I've got a story for you that's been unfolding right in my own bathroom. Over the past few months, I noticed something odd. The soap bars remain untouched, yet the Head and Shoulders bottle seemed to deplete at an alarming rate. Curiosity got the better of me, and I started paying closer attention. To my amazement, I caught my husband in the act, using Head and Shoulders not just for his hair, but as a one-stop shop for all of his, and to my horror, our baby's bathing needs. Confronting him, he claimed that, isn't it all the same stuff anyway? And now I'm on a mission to educate him, but kind of second-guessing myself too. What do you think?
No, not Head and Shoulders. Maybe it was something else, but not Head and Shoulders. That stuff's like pretty potent, I think, because it's obviously, specifically for people suffering from dandruff and so forth. So that's a definite no.
Definitely is a shameless act.
Absolutely. Especially, oh my God, on the baby cake. You can put whatever you want all over your own body, but definitely not for kids, especially young kids. They need to be having, kind of soap-free, fragrance-free, etc. kind of, body washes and so forth. If they have anything at all, I try to actually alternate between using and not using so as not to dry out their skin too much as well.
I don't know quite how I feel about this one because
You're a Head and Shoulders man.
I'm a Head and Shoulders man, and I think anyone with dark hair, especially being Asian, has to use Head and Shoulders or some kind of anti-dandruff shampoo at one stage or another. So I've got a really soft spot for Head and Shoulders, and it's in rotation. I tried to use the fancy stuff that you put me on, like I think it was Olaplex.
Yes, which you loved, by the way. You were like, oh my God, my hair is amazing. It's never been so luscious.
Well, yeah, I'll clip in a picture of when I had luscious long hair.
Yeah.
But yes, I did need to use Olaplex then. But Head and Shoulders has a special spot in my heart. I think I must have used it for 20 years straight.
I think you and every other man, I feel like Head and Shoulders just did a fantastic job and just like grabbed all these like young boys when they were teenagers, and now
Do you want to rephrase that?
and now it's like that's all they now buy for the next 20, 30, 40 years, even if they don't actually suffer from dandruff anymore.
All right, I'm going to stop beating around the bush, figuratively, of course. And I am guilty of this, not washing the baby in the off runs of my Head and Shoulders, but there have been times in my life where I've only used shampoo and no soap.
Yeah, it's weird.
Is it weird?
It's weird because Head and Shoulders is so, like, there's so many chemicals in it, and it's such a harsh kind of, shampoo to use. That's why.
Don't get all high and mighty on me. Have you looked at the ingredients list on any of your cleansers or makeup or whatever it is? You don't read that.
I wouldn't know what half of them mean anyway, I guess.
And to defend men, I think that for most men, all the dirtiest parts of you
are the hairy
parts, right?
So you got dandruff going on down there too?
No, but I mean, it's like a scorched earth situation, a method, right? So I feel like the combination of the off runs of the shampoo and washing any hair that's down there or armpits or whatever, I think it's not a bad strategy. Maybe this is why the beauty routines of men are so simple.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be undecided. I think I'm gonna do some field work on this, so we'll watch out for that.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's double back to our son.
Yes.
So I've been having a lot of trouble actually referring to him. I've been constantly misgendering him, which is
Me
pretty
too.
bad. I've kept on thinking that he's, a girl, a little girl. And I don't know, my mind just can't handle it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I always used to be disgusted at my parents doing that because they always used to do that to my sister and I. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just a lost in translation thing, but it's happening to me now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because we've had the two so close together. We're so used to like being in baby mode and referring to our daughter Rose and she, that I am struggling with the transition as well. And I keep saying she sometimes rather than he. Although I am getting better. Well, now that it's a weekend, it's like becoming more sure and solid around the he. But absolutely at the start, it was kind of a bit of a
I know
crazy mind.
And babies kind of look the same when they have no hair, right? I need some kind of signaling, It's easy for a girl because they're always in pink or they have a bow or something on their headband. Maybe we need to buy Rory a sidearm, so he can just carry it strapped to his waist.
He's literally wearing a flowery pink onesie at the moment because this is the thing with being the second baby is you just wear whatever the first one wore.
Yeah, so true. You try to be gender neutral, but it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible, right? And I'd like to see. I think if you were militant about it, it would get weird really fast. I think, but maybe we should find out. So I think let's double back and give a bit of a brief story of the birth. Now, I don't want to kind of bore the audience with any gory details or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think there are some cool things that we probably should discuss. And of course, I'll throw it in from a man's point of view, being shameless parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we want to get to the heart. We talked last week around what does it mean to be a good support person and a good husband, a good partner when it comes to birthing. So
how did you do, basically?
Yeah, give me a report card. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about the how it all went down.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were amazing, Ryan, if that's what you're wanting to hear. You did very well as the support person. It was a bit of a strange, crazy day because essentially I went into labour on Friday night, so 3 a.m. Saturday morning. We had already been up that night a little bit with Rose around 1:30 a.m. She had vomited everywhere, so we'd already been kind of dealing with that. So I'd only really had a couple of hours sleep. I don't think I really got back to sleep very much.
Was that the night that she took a shit in the carpet?
No, that was a different night, but that did happen that same week. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then basically contraction started around 3 a.m. And I thought, all right, this is kind of exactly what happened last time as well. It was about getting close to 48 hours after a stretch and sweep. Exactly the same thing with when I went into labour with Rose. And then I thought, all right, we'll just kind of see how things go. And I thought, I'll let Ryan sleep and have some rest and wake him when things are a little bit more certain. I did tell you what was going on, but I don't think you fully kind of registered. And so then I was just kind of in the living room sort of labouring on my own, I guess, dealing with contractions and so forth, timing things and seeing where things were at. And at around 7 a.m. it all stopped, which I think is quite a common thing to happen as kind of hormones change and so
These
forth.
false starts.
Yeah. And so I thought, all right, that's it. Now, this is Saturday morning. I was actually booked in on Sunday morning for an induction. So I kind of thought that we were still kind of going to be going ahead with plan A, which was going in on Sunday, everything kind of nice and planned and orderly for our planned induction. But then things really started to kind of ramp up a few hours after that and was very much kind of labouring at home. We had all the kids, so both my stepkids and Rose, everyone in the house, and I was basically just in the bedroom groaning away with my TENS machine. Thank God for the TENS machine. And then for some reason you were baking brownies with the kids at some point, and I was like, is that really what we should be doing right now? We might have to walk out the door.
Hey, you ate some of those brownies.
Yeah, which I then threw up later, but true.
Yeah.
And which was just, it was all a bit crazy. And I think it's because we were both in denial that it was actually happening this quickly. And I think we kind of thought we were still on track for Sunday, and this was just kind of like early contractions. But it got to when they were about maybe 10 minutes apart. By this point, it was like maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I just kind of said to you, look, I think I want to go to the hospital. I think it's probably a bit early, but I just feel like I want to go get in there. The last thing I want to do is get there late. Within the time that it took for us to have that conversation and to get into the car and call the hospital to let them know we were coming, the contractions were very quickly at 5 minutes apart. And then when they assessed, when we got into the hospital, they were like, you're actually like 5 centimeters dilated. I don't even think you've got time for an epidural or anything. Like, it's go time. And yeah, needless to say, I was
come to fruition.
Not prepared. Yeah.
It's like, I can't do this without the epidural.
Yeah, it's like, you mean I could have come in like hours ago rather than dealing with this at home?
It's always funny because if anyone who doesn't know, you're timing the contractions because there's a general guideline about the intervals or the frequency that they need to be apart and how long they last for. And when it gets to, I think, consistently under 5 to 3 minutes apart and longer than 60 seconds is go time, right? And then things can start happening. So you're always calling up the birthing unit, and they're trying to talk you out of it, right? Because their experience is that women come in way too early. And when you come in and it stalls and then they have to intervene. But not in this case.
No.
So it just goes to show it's always different. And I think that the experience for us very much was, make sure that you don't want to be rushed during that period where you can only move between contractions. But it always happens that way. It always does. It gets away from you.
Yeah, definitely. And I said, look, after your first pregnancy, things are actually really unpredictable for them. So like, for me, they were saying you can go from 5 to fully dilated within half an hour. And then it's kind of go time to start pushing. They actually just really don't know. So I think going by your gut instinct is something that's really important at that time as well. And not feeling like, oh, am I going in too early or whatever, just do what you think is right.
Yeah. All right. Well, from a man's perspective, when your wife or your partner is going through labor, it's quite a common thing, I think, that it's hard for you to empathize exactly how bad it is at the beginning because there's obviously a lot of discomfort going on, but it's not happening to you. So you're kind of trying to gauge what's actually happening. And then you hit the proper contractions and then your partner literally starts groaning and seizing up and not being able to move. And I think that's when a lot of men panic, right? Because seeing that pain and that kind of puts you into a bit of startle reflex and you don't know what to do. And it's like when someone vomits, right? Like they just suddenly vomit. For a second, you're just frozen. You're like, oh, what do I do? There's a mess on the floor. Do I get a towel? Where are the towels? I don't know what to do. And you just kind of freeze. And so I think it's really good to get everything ready in terms of the grab bag that you need to do and talk about what your partner wants. And I think that's how you make it smooth, right? Make sure that you've got a clear path to getting to the hospital and everything like that, all the numbers on speed dial, and that you don't really need to consult her too much. I think that's the main thing. So we rock up in the hospital, you do your labor, you get the epidural just in time.
Yep. There was a point where basically my doctor said to me, we can break your waters now and we can just go and things will happen probably quite quickly and start pushing, or you can have the epidural. And for me, I think it's because I had everything in my mind around this was kind of the plan and it's what I had, the first time round and so forth as well. So I pushed for the epidural, which to be honest, I would have been fine either way. I think the outcome would have been totally fine whether I had or I hadn't. But for me, I think it was the right choice. It was what I needed to do mentally to kind of get through the next big part, which is getting fully dilated, but then also, pushing the baby out as well.
I think we spoke about last time too that these doctors that administer the epidurals, they're on call. They're not actually around. So it's a really dicey thing where they actually literally have to go get these doctors. They're often contracted out, working in a variety of hospitals. And I've got to say that experience wasn't so good this time for me. And the reason was that this lady that was called out was a little bit of a new doctor. And she was trying to communicate what she usually did and her procedures. And there was literal conversations going on about, do you guys have 10 mils Novocaine or whatever, all these medical names of the drugs? And they're like, no, we don't have that, but we have this, we have this, we have that. I'm just like, I don't want to be hearing this right now. Is, I don't want to know
I know.
that
It was quite concerning.
you don't have the right medication in stock, so you're going to try to MacGyver some cocktail on the run, while my partner's like about to give birth. And I said that to the midwife too. I'm like, that was totally different to what we experienced last time, and a bit disconcerting to hear all that talk about what you have available and what sort that shit out before you get in there. I think that, so that was a bit alarming.
Yeah, they were asking for a specific needle that they didn't have, or oh, can I get this just out of the bag directly? No, you can't do that. It was nuts. And meanwhile, it was like,
oh, the best bit, sorry to
down to the
interrupt you,
wire.
was this lady who was administering it, this doctor rather. She's like, well, do you have hats? And they're like, oh no, we don't have little hats here. And I was like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? These little hats? And it's like, oh, but you can use these disposable nappies, underwear for the women. And she's like, okay. And so I turn around, and this doctor has the biggest disposable Bridget
I
Jones
didn't know
nanny.
this.
Like, she has this kind of like granny undies on her head
I didn't even
as the
know
hat.
this.
I'm like, surely you can't need the hat that much, right? Like, this is not a lunch lady hairnet. Just, what are you worried that's going to happen here?
I did not even know that. There
Did you see that she was wearing
No, I didn't look around.
disposable women's, like a granny panty on her head?
I was just hunched over trying to breathe through the contractions.
Yeah, well, it wasn't great. And from a man's point of view, you are just trying to add value, but also you are in the way constantly. So you're constantly trying to shuffle yourself into a space where you're not in the foot traffic, but you can't. So you can't, like, being chased around like a Pac-Man, and you end up just feeling like you're in the way, right? And everything's happening. You don't really have a lot of, you have zero authority there. And you're just trying to like keep track and comfort you, and yeah, it's mad.
Yeah, but no, you were great. You absolutely spot. When I said call them, we're going. Make sure you push for everything that I want, etc. You were everything we talked about in episode 1. You were absolutely there and for it, to the point that you even actually caught and pulled the baby out, cut the cord. You could not have been more involved, really.
Yeah, it was. Last time I thought I was involved because I caught Rose, I caught our daughter, and just kind of, it was more like she was already coming out and I just was there to catch and pass her to you for the skin on skin contact. But this time I was like right down the business end with our OB, and the head popped out, but then I literally had to pull Rory, our boy, out, like, and he was so slimy for some reason. Like, it was just very visceral. For some reason,
I wonder why.
No. And it was just really, really intense this time. Like, and one of the midwives was filming everything. We won't show all of that, but it was
God, it's graphic.
Oh, it was.
Those photos will never see the light of day. Oh my God.
Maybe we just need to crop the facial reactions, because there was just like, it was nuts. But anyway, so all went to plan. Beautiful baby boy. And I will just say one comment. He had, like, so I think the doctor made a comment where he's like, oh, he's definitely a boy. And I'm like, yeah, of course he. What do you mean? I look down, and there is the biggest set of nuts I've ever seen, and his dingleberry, right? So it was just...
Everything's swollen.
Oh, it was massive. We're talking about like a florin, like a mandarin, on a baby. It was like hanging between his legs.
It's gone down now, though. It's better now.
Yeah. It was crazy. I was like, I don't remember this happening. All right, sorry, we won't talk about little baby testicles too much. I want to move now to, you're in the hospital, you're recovering. What's your view on the best and worst gift to bring if you're visiting someone who's in the hospital and it's just given birth?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Best and worst gift to bring. So I would recommend, if you are coming in to the hospital to visit, chances are you're not just showing up, right? Like, you are, communicating to them in advance to check the time, check it's okay. Most hospitals still have restrictions on number of visitors that can come per day and so forth as well.
Sorry, any ethnic family?
Yeah. So, I would recommend asking if there's anything that they need. So one of my friends popped in and she brought a whole bunch of, different things like some chocolates, all that kind of stuff, which was awesome, but also some breast pads as well, which was amazing because I had completely not brought enough of those with me and basically very rapidly ran out when my milk came in. So things like that, like just checking is there anything that they need, I think before is extremely useful because there could be things like breast pads, postpartum pads, something related to ice, etc., that they kind of need. Ask them to see. I think that's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Things like flowers, all the rest of it, obviously those are really lovely. Logistically, it can be hard then to work out how do you bring them home. So if you've got like one bouquet of flowers, obviously that's totally fine. But if you've got quite a few people visiting you and everything and loads of flowers, obviously that's a lovely problem to have, but they're not particularly useful.
I want to just dwell on that because that's my predicament here. Flowers, like, do you really want flowers in the room with you?
Send them home. Send them, I think, to their home so they're there for when they arrive back home, which I think is really, really lovely. Obviously, it's really nice. Like I had a couple of bouquets, and so that was really, really lovely to have and, really kind of thoughtful. But I think that if everyone came and visited and brought, then, it's just thinking about things that are practical and useful, I think, as well, is really helpful. Food as well, chocolates, things like that, I think are great.
Yeah, because I think growing up Asian, it's always a weird relationship with flowers because I've always been told you should never buy waste money on flowers. It'd be much better to bring like a watermelon or some kind of melon or fruit or something.
Yeah.
So I always feel whenever I do succumb to the tradition of buying flowers that I'm somehow, feeling like a bad Asian boy. I don't know. All right. So let's quickly move to best and worst recovery products to round it out.
Yep. So this I actually struggle a little bit with because I think there's so many things I'd like to recommend. So I'm actually going to flip the question a little bit and just say that when you have a baby, something that kind of comes over you is that because you've gone through this crazy intense experience and you've learned so much, and in some cases you've had to kind of learn the hard way through trial and error, you have this real desire to tell the next person who's about to have a baby, I found this really useful, that really useful, et cetera, et cetera. And you find, and that's, I think, where a lot of people find that you get a lot of advice and things like that when you are having a baby. A lot of it is coming from that place because the person that's giving that advice has kind of probably come across that when they were at a time when they were struggling or didn't realize that was something that they found really useful. So I thought I'd just talk about a few things that I found really, really useful and then something that probably kind of less so as well. One of the things is that you are going to bleed a lot. And I must admit that when I had the baby, the first time when I had Rose, I did not fully understand or appreciate what postpartum recovery looked like. I didn't really understand the extent to which you're bleeding, to the extent to which you need ice for things that are swelling, especially if you've had kind of tearing and stitches and so forth. And regardless of whether you've had a vagina birth or a C-section, the recovery is, there's no easy way to get this baby out, basically. It's either coming out through a major surgery through your stomach and kind of cutting through your abdomen, or it's coming through, your vagina. And then even if you get an epidural, that's not going to stop tearing and all that kind of stuff happening. So getting your own postpartum disposable underwear pads, I think is really, really helpful. The stuff that they give you, like that fishnet thing that you were talking about before, they're not great. They're not very comfortable. You're constantly having to change them. I actually ordered some through Tiny Hearts. They were so comfortable and lovely, and I felt so
not
supported.
A paid promotion.
No, definitely not. But Tiny Hearts they've got some amazing products, especially for postpartum care. And I found their disposable underwear really helpful in those first few days. Really comfortable, no leaking, nothing. So getting your own and bringing your own in rather than using the hospitals, as well as their pads as well, once you kind of don't have as much bleeding, I think is really, really useful. And bringing in your own breast ice, what do you call them? Like the things
ice packs, yeah.
Ice packs that kind of that are like made for your breasts. When your milk comes in, you're going to be highly engorged, very uncomfortable. Having your own of those, especially if you're like me and you were in the room, like I was on my own most of the time, because obviously you were at home dealing with Rose and all the kids and so forth. Having your own to help with the engorgement, again, is super, super valuable. The one that I would say is a bit controversial is the peri bottle. So both times that I've been preparing for birth, I've been on the fence about a peri bottle. And this is basically like a special bottle that has a spout that makes it easier for you to kind of clean, the area where the baby has come out. A lot of people like it even for C-sections and so forth as well. It's a great way to kind of to kind of clean that whole area.
It's like a douche?
I guess so. It's kind of like a bottle that will spray up to kind of clean, the vagina, vulva, etc. kind of area. So obviously like there's a lot of blood coming out all the time, so it helps make you feel really clean. The thing is, you're only going to use that for like a week. And I just think there's so many different things that you're buying. If you have a shower, and you definitely will have a shower like this in the hospital where where you can remove the head of the shower so that you can properly kind of clean that area, I don't think you need one of those bottles, and you won't use it for very long. So that was probably going to be my one that I would say is not necessarily needed. However, if you don't have one of those showers and you feel like, I can imagine this would make you feel like you're able to clean, and the fact that you can use warm water would feel really good and soothing for that area as well.
I totally missed that product. Do you have one?
No, I don't, because we haven't needed it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing something like that. And does it work by squeezing it?
Yeah, you squeeze and then it comes up. And like,
so that's sport action tip, like
Yeah.
a Gatorade bottle?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, moving on. All right, I'll do it really quickly because we just wanted this episode to be like a bit of an update post-birth. My shout out for this recovery is going to be a controversial one for many reasons, but it is the Stanley Cup. Now,
actually, that's a good one.
For every product that flies too close to the sun, there are always the haters out there on the internet. But what I wanted to say was that having a massive thermos there that you can fill up with ice, you can fill up once, it has a straw built in, is just amazing. So I think that even the midwives actually commented, didn't they?
Yeah, they loved it. They were just like, and it wasn't because a lot of them hadn't heard of the Stanley Cup or anything before either, and they were just like, what is this? This is amazing. The straw, the fact that it kept the ice in and it was so big. Yeah, that's actually a really good call out.
Yeah, it's just what you need, right? Because you just want that water on tap always, and the ice that they give you as well.
Yeah.
I personally have a green version of the Stanley Cup. I call it my DILF cup, and it draws attention. So yeah, that's mine. And look, I think when it comes to the worst side, meals for partners. I feel like when you go private, that should be included.
Yeah.
Because it's always this weird thing where only the patient gets to order a meal, and then you've got this kind of weird thing around if you want to be there with your partner to enjoy a meal, you have to get food somewhere else. And I just think it kind of takes away a bit from the experience.
Well, you can order a meal, but it's like expensive for what it is. Like, I think it's like $20 or $30 to get this plate of food that's like hospital food, which I would say the food was okay, but if it was like pay an extra $5 or $10, then it would be reasonable. But it's sort of like so expensively, like I can't pay that amount of money for that when I could order a burger on Uber Eats or something.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're gonna get off the birthing topic next week and move into something a little bit else. But for now, we're going to try to stay awake, stay sane, and welcome Rory into the world.
And he slept the whole time. We did well.
Very well.
Thanks, Rory, for letting us record.